We're externally motivated by money. We're externally motivated by material goods produced by white people that hate us.
Get ready to be challenged in this world of ideas. From politics to philosophy.
While the question how we can know God is the fundamental question in the philosophy of religion, the ultimate question, how can we know anything at all?
From philosophy to theology.
I mean, this is what's wrong with the Christian church today. We don't know who God is, and we don't know who we are.
From theology to practical living.
The Bible says, great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend thee. Man, we got preachers today going around getting offended.
I used to have a home, it burned to the ground. I used to have a dog, now there's nowhere to be found. I used to have money to buy what I need. Now the only thing I got is an alimony bleed. Got nothing but bad news, that's why I sing the blues.
Yo, this is Jonathan from the Dudes podcast. What's up, guys? I'm here with my boy Joseph on my left.
Hello.
To you guys on YouTube to the right. And I got Vasquez on my right. To you guys on your left.
What is up?
But y'all go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, guys. Go to our website. Like us on Facebook. So before y'all do anything, go there. Stop the video right now.
Right now. Stop it. Right meow. Right now.
So
pause.
Yeah,
I should stop like this.
The heck is that?
I'm pausing because they paused me. Oh yeah, it's supposed to stop moving, dude. Like that. What's that one challenge? Remember the one that everybody stops moving? The mannequin. There you go.
I forgot about that, dude.
I forgot about that.
Let's bring that back.
Let's do it.
I ain't doing it.
Okay.
We also have Josue in the cameras, and we also have Jonathan Garcia.
What?
The boys are back in town.
On the ones and twos.
The JJ. No, sorry, GJ. JGG.
JG.
Trying to say his initials.
He's dabbing right now. Look at him. He's dabbing.
Man, wow. Is he sneezing? Is that a seizure?
But he's actually he got married this year. You know.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, that's right.
So
Man.
Lots of dancing. Lots of
alcohol. Good alcohol.
It was a good time. It was a good time, Jonathan.
It was a
good
fun time.
It was a good. It came at a good time.
Yes, it was good.
Came at a good time.
Very good.
Actually did. But we also want to give a little shout out to Matthew Hagen.
Boy, Matt.
What's up, Matt?
He actually did a video, kind of like responding to our video.
Wow.
So it was pretty funny, actually.
Yeah,
so,
it was actually funny.
To the last video that we made. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
So
I need to check it out.
As a result of Matthew doing that video, it kind of like, let's do some clarifications. So on this episode, we're going to be clarifying some things, giving like the full perspective, because I know in the last episode we talked about the cultish part of it, but we're going to talk about some good stuff, like some good memories, and just good things that we actually did do. So, so we can make sure that you guys don't think that it was all bad. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also going to be talking about John Chau. We're going to be giving out our perspective of why, we're going to give you our insights for the whole incident. So hopefully you guys will be blessed by it. But anyways, what's up, guys? How was y'all's week?
I am working in valet, and it is fine. Valet, not ballet. I don't dance. Not dancing. Actually, I had an incident with a lady who said she was going to be only 5 minutes, so she didn't want to use our service and pay, But she took more than 5 minutes, and she used one of our spots, and she got mad. And I was the one who had to go up and
oh my goodness,
deal with her because take care of her, whatever. Because I was the one who talked to her at first. So I was like, you know what? There's this guy who's working with me. Like, hey man, you going? She's back. And like we were talking about the lady. That's because she wasn't gonna be long. She didn't want to pay. She didn't want to use the valet service, but she took one of our spots. She said, I'm only gonna be 5 minutes.
Oh. And she took longer.
Than 5 minutes. It was like 30 minutes. So you got to
charge
30 minutes.
Yeah, it was longer.
Oh, you got to charge. Yeah.
So I went up. She was mad. I kindly spoke to her, said, "Ma'am, it was more than 5 minutes. I'm gonna have to charge you." And then
dude, you're like a tow truck driver, dude.
Tow truck? That's how they sound like, or what?
You're charging people because they're parking.
Hey, man, that's what it is there, man.
No,
so I had to do that.
Yeah, I know.
But
5 minutes, from 5 minutes to 30 minutes, man.
Yeah,
like
you can't do that. Yeah.
And she was like, "But it's not my fault. It's the ladies in the store," or something like that. And I was like,
5 minutes.
"We parked your car, ma'am, and you used our service. We have to charge you." She gave it. She wanted to give me only 5, and I was like, "Dang, ma'am, it's 12."
Man.
She's like, "I'm gonna give you 5," and I was like, "Oh, that's not the price." In my mind, I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to say it's 12."
$12 plus tip because.
Yeah, she didn't want to get. I wasn't expecting any tip.
Did you get 12?
Yeah, I got 12. She gave 12.
Wow.
But she said I was rude and she was gonna report it, and I was like,
"You're being rude, Vasquez.
Go
That's
ahead.
impossible. You are not
I was
rude."
like, I was like, "Go
He's
ahead.
like the friendliest.
You can go ahead
guy.
and do it." I mean,
Well, Vasquez has his way of phrasing things is like they're short. They're short, and the accents, perhaps there's not as much fluctuation.
So in other words, you're saying that you were rude.
That sounded rude.
Maybe it could be mistaken.
Sounded, but I was not.
Accent.
Tone. Yeah.
Nah, that's cool, Vasquez. That's cool. I mean,
But other than that, it was good. I was like, "Nah, man, I gotta man up to this thing because I gotta do it."
yeah.
This is it, man.
What about you? How was your week?
It was pretty good. I mean, I mainly worked. So I got this new tool. Not that I'm trying to throw it out there, but it's called the Delco Zunder. And it's
The what? What went under?
Delco Zunder. So it's like this little gadget where I'm actually helping my dad remodel one of his homes. And
One of his homes.
well, he only has 2.5, 3, I guess.
2.5? Half a house?
Half a house. It's half. No, it's a full house. It's just smaller. But I'm actually doing the tape and floating right now. So I installed the sheetrock with a buddy, and now I'm putting the tape and float. I'm taping and floating, and so the tool actually throws in the mud and the tape at the same time. So it helps to stick it. So I'm going a little bit faster. If not, I would have been taking forever putting that stuff on. It's my first time doing it.
We are being sponsored by that tool.
I guess in a way, yeah. I mean, that tool has been helping out.
Oh.
That tool has been helping out with finances a little bit. So that's what I've been up to, working in that, and then also prepping up for the confession.
Yeah, that's
stuff like that. So.
I actually studied like for 7 hours. I've been studying so much, man. Like on this topic, on the chapter 5 of the confession. I probably spent like no less than 6 hours this whole week studying it. And yesterday when I was talking to Vasquez, I was giving him the differences between God's decree and God's providence, because chapter 5 is talking about God's providences. And I was telling him, man, you know, there's the blueprint, it's decree, and providence is the acting out of the blueprint. And then out of a sudden it just clicked. Like, wait a minute, I'm not doing that chapter. This is Joseph's chapter.
That was mine.
So I spent 6 hours just studying on a chapter that I'm not going to be
studying.
So it's all good though, because
he said he was going to give me his notes. So that's like 6 hours I don't have to study.
Well,
what he said.
But it's God's providence, because
it was predestined.
So I'm doing the chapter on the covenants, which is something I've been studying this whole summer. So I'm excited about the covenants, which is different than all our dispensational brothers. So if you're going to be a confessional Baptist, you have to be covenant. Covenantal. You have to agree with covenant theology. Not even new covenant theology. Covenant theology. Because everything that flows, like the Christian Sabbath and all that, it flows from the covenant.
Man, that boy already teaching it.
So we're going to be teaching it in 2 weeks. We're going to be teaching on God's covenants. And also, guys, we're going to be trying to put all the series that we're doing on the confession online. So right now I'm editing those audios so I can give it to you guys so I can listen to them at home. Give you our understanding of the confession. So we are using books like Sam Wardren, James Ranahan, Marcellus. Some other renowned confessional Baptist people. But anyways, guys, let's talk about the
positive aspects.
The positive aspects of campus Christians.
Let's do it.
Because we do have a lot of good memories over there, you know. And I mean, even Matthew was talking about some of the things that You used to do a lot back in the day.
No, dude, he was saying that. I was like, dang, man, he actually remembers.
He was like the Mexican guy. Like he had the mustache.
Oh, that's right.
He would always say
that.
Orale. He would always say that.
Dale Holmes.
Dale Holmes.
He would always say, why would you do that?
Because I just wanted to do it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean,
he'd be like, Que Honda.
Que Honda Civic.
Que Honda Civic.
Que Honda Civic. Que Honda Accord. Honda Ridgeline.
So Matthew was talking about all those little, and I mean, we have some good memories with. I mean, I do have some memories with Matthew.
Yeah.
I remember him always doing this little phrase when we were playing foosball.
Oh my!
He would always scream. He probably doesn't even know what it means. He just screamed it because he would always say this thing, chupete, chupete, chupete.
I remember playing it with them one time, and that's all I remember from it because it was so ingrained in my mind, chupete, chupete.
And did he hear that from you?
Yeah, because there was a few times when I would say it, because Chupete is actually a soccer player from Los Rayados, and he was like one of the best players of Monterrey. And so when I would play foosball with him, I would just say, Chupete scored, whatever. But he just took it to like a different level, man. He just like put steroids on that thing. and that thing just
for real, man.
Blew up, and he started screaming Chupete all the time.
Yeah.
But he did mention that, I mean, something that's known about Campus Christians was that we always did evangelize in campus.
Mm-hmm.
We had a mindset of evangelism. We really focused on evangelism.
Yep.
And I mean, the methods weren't the best and unbiblical, but one of the reasons why was because they wanted you to be focused on evangelizing the campus, which is a good goal, so that's one thing that they did enforce a lot, which is having that mindset of evangelism.
Mm-hmm.
That evangelism is not something, it's something that we are responsible for.
Yeah. So when Jonathan says methods of it, he's referring to the methods of how the ministry was structured, not to the method of evangelism necessarily. But it was a method that was pretty good on the campus. I mean, it worked very well. People would stop. They wanted to take interviews.
Yeah.
And we're able to share the gospel quite a lot actually.
Yeah.
Even with a small group at times. I mean, there was lots of volume in the evangelization.
Yeah, because we were there like almost every day. I mean, we were there from like Monday through Fridays in some cases, from 9 to 1. Like you had a lot of encounters of different views. You had Muslims, you had some atheists, you had people who were apathetic, you had all
Jehovah's Witnesses, Catholics, all of them.
Yeah, you had a bunch of different types, and it gave us the ability to like reason and talk to people.
The World Mission.
Well, yeah, like in our case over here in the north, in Spring, Texas, we basically kicked out that coach from the school because they were there.
That's true. So, they were there a lot.
So even though, and we were sharing the right gospel, even the right doctrines, we were teaching on Calvinism, we were teaching on the gospel being central to everything. So we talked a lot about those things, and we were Campus Christians, and we actually removed the cult from there because the cult was very active, and we were like, Vasquez and I were like team up, and
yeah, I remember that. That was cool. I enjoyed those times. It was challenging. Some of them were trying to understand them and try to communicate with them. I mean, I saw I've talked to one of the guys since back when I was at San Jacinto campus. Like the same guy I saw over here. I'm like, this is crazy.
They transition over there.
This is crazy. He's the same guy. He's like following me. Nah, but yeah, it's the same guy though. So that was.
That cult. They go to a lot of college campuses, and they were at the San Jacinto College over there by Pasadena, and like in the Houston area. But also here in the northern Spring, they're also over here too. So we had to confront them a lot. So Campus Christians gave us that platform to confront those things. And then also like another thing that, I mean, what do you guys, you want to add to that?
I think some of the the disciplines and being able to get into reading consistently, I think that was pretty good for some people who maybe came in there not having a great desire to read and to grow. I think one of the things that helped some of the individuals is that having a particular structure in some way helped the individuals to take in, like to learn to just be disciplined in their time and their discipline in reading. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, I did get benefit a lot from that. I think before I even met Campus Christians, I wasn't a big time reader actually. I did pretty poor on any classes that involved reading. I haven't taken any classes since then, but I know now at least I like to read a lot. I don't like to read a lot, but I do like to read.
And that's because of Campus Christians.
Yes, it's ever since then. Yeah, ever since Campus Christians, ever since that, now I actually do like to look up stuff online and read, spend time reading books, whatever, you know.
Yeah, so it has a lot of good aspects. And like, I remember talking to one of my good friends. His name is Eli. He's been in a podcast before. But he actually recommended me to read a book that his church was reading. His church is called Providence Baptist Church. They're like in Pasadena. Oh no, Providence something. They're a Reformed Baptist. Somewhere over there. But he told me to read a book that his church was reading.
Yeah, Providence Baptist Church.
Oh yeah, let me see. Here you go, guys. So if you're in the Houston area by Pasadena, recommend this church, Providence Baptist Church. So if you're by Pasadena, over there by Fairmont, yeah, go to this church. It's pretty good. But anyways, he told me they were reading this book called Spiritual Disciplines of the Christian Life by Donald Whitney. And we read it, you know, during the transition when we left. And I realized something, man, that a lot of the things that the book was sharing is something that Campus Christians emphasized a lot in our own disciplines, which was reading, memorizing verses. We
that's right, yeah.
So many verses in the ministry.
Yeah, we actually have a little scripture memory program list.
And we basically everybody memorized all those verses. It talked about evangelism, which we did. It talked about this individual reading of the Bible, which we call quiet times. Prayer, like individual prayer, not just as a collective whole, but you praying on your own. That's what we did. We emphasized those things too. The only thing that we didn't emphasize much was the fasting part. But basically every discipline that he mentions in the book, we were really good at.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of good things about Campus Christian. So I don't want you guys to just think that we were like this, just straight.
Separatists, alone, and it wasn't just like that. Those lots of good that came from the things that we did. Lots of people
we met a lot
changed
of people.
Lives.
We met people that we still come to our church because of that. So
one thing also that I liked about Campus Christians was that we were very close knitted. Like what I mean by that is like well, at least over here in the north, I don't know much about. But even when I was with you guys, we did a lot of things like together. Like we did a bunch of things together. Maybe because there's like no other groups out there, but we do things together ourselves, like retreats, playing games after Bible studies. All of us will get together and play some games, and it kind of helps fellowship. It helps you get close to each other.
Yeah,
it wasn't like in other churches, like a lot of big churches where like people finish and then you have like your little cliques. Where there's this group here and this group over there, and nobody really knows each other. So that's one thing also about Campus Christians that really was pretty good. I think,
it's true.
In my estimation.
It seemed like we were good at making people feel welcome, at least when they come. At least I asked some people, and they said, "Yeah, I really like how it's easy for y'all. It's easy to get along with the people." At least it seems like that's how some people said. So that was good. I mean, that's a good thing. Same along the same lines as what Jonathan was saying.
Yeah, want to mention another one? I'll be the one mentioning.
I guess like defending the faith as well. I mean, so on top of evangelism and the fellowship and the disciplines, the learning there was also the study on theology. So we mentioned that before, like we had good theology and stuff like that. So we were taught and trained and had the experience to be able to refute and to have discussions and stuff like that with cults, with false religions,
polemics, like even our own Christian differences or disagreements, like cessationism, stuff like that. We're like, that we're very good at that, I think.
And I think the fact that we evangelized a lot too, it gave a lot of opportunity to what we learned to actually apply it in our conversations. And I think because of that, the whole time is really made it easier for us to express whatever we learned and to make arguments for our points. So I think for me at least, I felt like I always had opportunity to do that, which was good. Like presuppositionalism, I was able to use that a lot because I was on campus a lot of the time. So I was able to catch the concept and be able to explain it and talk to people about it.
Pretty
because
quickly.
It wasn't just like in seminaries where you just get the head knowledge, but there's no outlet to express that stuff in your mind. Like you just know it, but you really don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Like here, like one thing that benefited us is that we had the knowledge. We were getting intake of knowledge. We were also able to express it.
Yeah.
But one last thing that also, and it kind of goes back to this, our next topic. But it was something that really, I think, helped me out a lot. Is it kind of like helped you see things like in a broader picture, like at least in my own discipline, like it made you realize that what you're doing is more for a bigger picture. Like it's not just for your individual self, like it's for whether evangelism for the campus, but it was more like you gotta lose yourself, you know. So a lot of things that we did was for the benefit of the campus ministry, for the people and for the students. And sometimes even because you want to do things, you let go of a lot of things in order to help the collective whole, even the church. Like there were times where I didn't want to do some things, but because I wanted the church to function in unity, you deprive yourself of those pleasures to the benefit of the group. Yeah. And sometimes you want to do certain actions, but because you want the benefit of the campus, you also let go of those things to help, because there's a bigger picture. So
like positive compromises, like you know, you don't step in and like John is saying,
we let go of some rights that we have, and like Paul was saying that he did that for the sake of saving people.
And I'll give you an example, like for like Joseph, I know you were expressing that you wanted to leave the ministry, like almost like I think it was like last year. Like in the end of last year, during that time of 2017, he wanted to leave, but he saw that if he left, it might cause a lot of conflict and division. So he let go of that desire to leave in order to care for the church as a whole. So it taught you to do that a lot, like sacrifice your own desires for the benefit of everybody. And that's very important because to be a pastor, to be a leader, you have to do that. You have to compromise your desires for the benefit of the group. And that, like, it was like an indirect consequence of being in the Campus Christians. And it
worked out for good, because Jonathan as well had particular desires as well, and you know we encouraged each other a lot. So throughout these times, you know, and so he too had particular desires of leaving, and I encouraged him, you know, and so.
It was a mutual.
Yeah, it was a mutual thing, and that's what brought our friendship, you know, pretty close as well in the difficulties. But it was one of like seeking the best of the ministry as a whole, even with both groups apart, but as well as individually with the group itself. You know, to try to bring as much unity as possible. And so then now, I mean, we're together. I mean, we're doing what we had talked about.
From that and all the good memories that we had, I mean, we had some awesome memories with all the guys, you know, so there was some good stuff. Yeah. But we're actually going to talk about our next topic now. And it kind of ties into like the whole bigger picture, because we're going to share our thoughts. So I don't want to race to that. So like the topic is on the whole John Chau. He's getting criticized a lot by the secular media, and even by Christians themselves. So
who is John Chau? Who is this?
Yeah, who is this guy?
He's a guy, man. I don't know his history.
Well, a graduate, I guess, from Oral Roberts University. And we may go into that just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I guess he took a mission trip to India with saying that he had particular interest to do a particular thing, but went over there with a different motive. I believe that's the reason. I don't think he specified, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but he went to go evangelize these tribe people from this island called Sentinel Island.
The Northern Sentinelese people, something like that.
Sentinelese people, yeah.
So they just call them those, but they don't really know what they're called. They just call them that because that's the name that we put on them. Yeah. So we don't even know their actual name, like how they call themselves.
They're like cut off completely from everything. No one can communicate with them. Language is unknown.
Yeah.
The customs not really, I guess, not known.
And they're very violent
and
aggressive. Like fishermen have accidentally landed in the island and they've been throwing arrows at them by the native people there. So they're very, very violent and have a murderous heart. So one thing that I do want to talk about is first talking about God's, law. Like the Bible is clear that you should not murder.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
There's no debate on that. You should not murder. And what the natives did, they actually murdered. Yeah. So if some people might go, oh, well, they're Indians. They're like in different places. You can't judge them by Anglo laws or by American laws. No, this is God's law.
Yeah, this applies to everyone, everything. It goes, yeah.
You should not murder. So they're violent and they murdered innocent man. They might say, well, he's not innocent because he broke law. But anyways, so what do you think about that? Because people say those kinds of things that we have to follow those kinds of laws.
I do think that his desire to do what he wanted to do is good. So that's awesome that he wants to actually, share the gospel if he had it. I'm not sure if he had it or not, but if he did, that's great. But there's an example that I know in scripture where, at least with the apostles, they didn't listen to the Jewish leaders when they told them to stop talking about Christ. So there's at least, that there's some moment where you don't have to follow a law that goes against sharing the gospel. It doesn't go you don't have to follow those laws that go against that, because they actually overstep the line that God has given them, the authority that God has given them. So if there's a law that does that, then if you break it,
you're not really breaking God's law.
You're not breaking. Yeah, you're
so,
still
not sinning.
Yeah. So the command from God is to go spread the gospel, the Great Commission. So if the government tells you can now spread the gospel, then you can actually break it, whether it's here in America or even over there in that island.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're referring to, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter where. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Like, even though it was illegal to go to that island, there's a transcendental law command that God gives us that's beyond. Remember, Christ is King,
and
He's the one that gives us that commission, not the government. So does that make sense? So anyone that critiques him for that, I think they're mistaken on that. Now, then you also have like the atheists who say that it was wrong for him to go and spread Christianity over there, or forcing them to spread Christianity or
to proselytize
and all that stuff. And what do you think about that one?
Well, I mean, you want to go precept on them, and you could just say, well, what's wrong with proselytizing if we're just bags of protoplasm? I mean, why does that matter to you? Why do you even care about hurting or violating or proselytizing? What's the issue? So I mean, I don't see the basis on which they can actually stand to argue against that.
They have their own little moral laws.
Yeah, don't they proselytize too? Right?
Yeah, and they proselytize themselves. I mean,
but one thing I think is that people are always, atheists or non-believers are always going to criticize Christians for doing this. You always have that. Then you're never going to find an atheist who's happy that we're going to go there and convert people. So it doesn't matter where, when, how, the rules, it doesn't matter. They're still not going to like it.
That's true.
What about you? Do you have anything else to say? Or
about that comment? No. I can't really think of anything right now.
What about the idea of
him breaking law?
Well, we talked about that.
We talked about that. Okay, yeah.
There's also critiques from Christians that he didn't go with the church, like he went maverick or like a lone ranger. What do you think about that one?
I do think he could have had some more support. I mean, I don't see why that wouldn't be something he would do because maybe it would have been more better effect or to his goal that he had. He could have accomplished it better if he did have support. I don't see why that would be, I don't see why he didn't do that,
Yeah, some people.
Yeah, like, I mean, having a team, being able to work together and have more either encouragement, like moral support and with each other, but as well as just working together as a team. And you can always do a little bit more when you have more individuals with you. So, I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that. On the contrary, we use biblical wisdom as well. And biblical wisdom shows that, it's good not to be alone. Have a companion that helps, that encourages you. There's different principles in Scripture as well that shows that using wisdom from the Scriptures and different principles, one can see that it's good to not go alone to places for like an expanded amount of time. I mean, if that's God's will, that's God's will. I mean, if you determine that in some way, but I think it's not necessarily wrong to have some sort of backing or encouragement, because you can actually have even a greater effect in many ways for the next people that do come and do want to participate in that work.
I was actually reminded about usually, at least whenever you see Paul go on missionary journeys, he goes with someone else. Like I've usually noticed that Barnabas, they take Mark with them, whatever. Silas, So usually you see that he goes with more than, or he doesn't go by himself. So he could go by himself, but it usually
it's wise.
He does. It's wise, to not.
And one thing we do want to make clear is that we're not against evangelism. So it is not like us trying to justify our lukewarmness, like, because we are spiritually, like, we do have a goal of evangelism. So we don't want to make it seem like, we're just kind of like hating on the guy, on John Chau. No, we're actually, we encourage that people want to go and evangelize. But sometimes you have to apply wisdom. And some people try to compare it to like Jim Elliot, how he went. And I'm like, I think it's two different stories. Because Jim Elliot actually had a team of like dedicated men with him. And they actually spent time with another school trying to learn the language. They spent years living in an island next to that island so they can learn the languages of the people nearby. They also had somebody from their natives to kind of help them lead their way so that they can actually have some form of communication. And to the point where like Jim Elliot actually knew the language of the people then because of the study and the hard work of doing all those things. So I think it's a different. It's like there's no contrast. I think.
I think those even preparations, like they would fly over. I forgot Pete. They would fly over and leave packages or gifts to the tribe that was murderous, and they did it continually up until they actually received a gift back, and then they were like, okay, let's see about finding a landing spot on this place, and then they went. So it's not like they just went like randomly and then got arrows thrown at them like John Chau had.
It was it was a hard work of dedication. So John Chau, I mean, it's a good thing that he wanted to do, but
great
I think
desire.
Been more like organized with other people, other Christians, and spending a long time, like working there for years. I mean, so because some people might go, well, here's another language. How can you learn the language? Well, you're not going to learn the language in 1 week, 2 weeks, or even 1 year. You're going to learn the language by hard work. How do you do it? Well, that's where you need a team. You going by yourself like that, it's kind of like unwise. I don't want to say it's a sin or that's not God's will or God's providence, because obviously it's God's providence and God's going to be glorified no matter what. But you still got to apply wisdom. It's like the guy who wants to marry a young Christian foolish woman. She might be a Christian, she might be foolish and everything, but it might not be a wise thing for you to marry a foolish woman, even though she's a Christian. Now, if you do get married with her, God might still glorify himself and fix that marriage or whatever, but you don't do that as an active thing. You still seek wisdom. And another thing you mentioned that I thought was pretty interesting was that, a lot of people are just focusing on like the direct impact, like right now. And I think they forget like there's actually people who also get affected by John Chau's decisions, like Christians, missionaries in India, because of John Chau's, breaking the law in their country. The people from India might be a little bit more skeptical towards Christians that they're lawbreakers. And they might be more persecuted now because there's actually persecution in India. And India has a history with Britain and imperialism, where they reject a lot of Christians because of that imperialist mentality. So, I don't know if John Chau thought about the effect of even other Christians that might happen because of his breaking the law.
Yeah, because, I mean, we want to leave, like, if you're going to start a mission somewhere, you want to be able to have, like, you're preparing groundwork Like, you're going in there with starting from the ground up, and then you want to be able to have a vision for the next generations after that mission doesn't just die out. And so you have disciples, you have preparations, you train individuals, but you prepare it to where it's the best to your ability, to have like good atmosphere to be able to have that, whether it's through the government or through Christian organizations kind of backing and stuff like that as well. Those are things of just being wise and stuff like that. I mean, Paul even says himself, like, you're not going to be able to please everybody, but to the best that you can, be at peace with all men. And so,
yeah,
that's just some examples. Now, again, we're not downing him. I love his enthusiasm and his zeal. I mean, he was 26, 27 years old, somewhere around there.
7, I think.
Yeah, and so, I met other guys. When I went to Acuña, Mexico, I got to meet Oscar, and different other people with great zeal for God's work. There was missionary from Africa. There was also different individuals who worked in Mexico that were very zealous. Like they wanted to serve God, but they had a team and they had different things like that. And so I'm not downing on his zeal and his passion at all. But it's the aspect of perhaps just having maybe a team and different things like that. So
no,
it's more like a warning, I guess, or an encouragement for
things that we can learn from this, and we can always learn from things like that God allows to happen. So, but here's another thing. Like I was reading this thing where there's a kind of not popular, but there's a blogger out there. His name is I forgot his name. I think it's Steve Hayes, but he has this article on the talking about criticizing this Reformed author because there's a Reformed pastor named Mark Jones said that he was unimpressed by Chau. Because he basically said that he was a seal without doctrine is like a sword in the hands of a lunatic, and Steve Hayes kind of like found an insult, like that was wrong for him to say that about John Chau, and Steve Hayes' response was, well, I'm gonna read what happened, all right, so you can kind of like understand this. Here's what Steve Hayes says: some Christian critiques seem to imply that if a missionary is murdered, that in itself is proof that he was a zealous fool. When I asked Pastor John if that applies to St. Stephen in Acts chapter 9, he replied, "You're comparing John Chau to Stephen? Wow, at least Stephen's audience heard the gospel in their language. That's one major difference." And then Steve Hayes says, "That's an interesting response. How exactly is a missionary supposed to master the language of a xenophobic, geographically isolated people group? Are there grammar and lexicons of Sentinelese language? Are there recordings that provide the pronunciation? Isn't language isolated?" So that's one of his critiques, Then it says, he quotes Acts chapter 14 that Paul and Barnabas didn't know the native language, which resulted in some confusion in Acts chapter 14. I want to talk about that because that actually goes to a very important aspect of this. Because what is the point of going to a place and just speak gibberish? Like, can you actually preach the gospel to a place with just gibberish people? Like, can you actually pronounce Christ to a person but just having sounds?
No, they have to understand. You have to understand the language spoken and the meaning. I mean, if you don't get no meaning, there's nothing there. There's nothing there for the person. It's like Paul says, it's like a barbarian. You just don't understand what's going on. You just hear noises, sounds coming out of their mouth.
Yeah. That's very important on this. I think people are missing that because if they can understand, it's not only can they hear the gospel, like, preaching at them, but can they actually understand it? Like, do they know what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And there's even barriers with just regular people because there's a lot of barriers that people might have on conceptual things like faith. Even atheists, when we talk to atheists, they might have misunderstandings of words that we use.
That's true.
So it's already kind of, you have to unpack even the gospel with people in your own language. So imagine going to a language where you have no idea what you're saying. You have no idea of their language, nothing. You go there with your Bible and you start, just imagine me just going,
freestyle.
You're going to be like, what the heck is wrong with this guy?
I know, for real.
You're not saying anything. All you're doing is just making syllables to those Indians, to those natives. So they're gonna.
Or even if you're just trying to speak English to them.
Yeah, that's what
what that's what you're referring to, right?
They're gonna hear just gibberish because they don't understand it. So you cannot preach the gospel to a place where they can understand the gospel. Now Steve Hayes uses the book of Acts, how Paul and Barnabas didn't know the native language. Well, that assumes a lot of things. It assumes that there was no interpreter with them, because Paul does say that what's the point in the book of Corinthians? What's the point of speaking
1,000 words that you can't even understand?
You don't understand. He even tells them to shut up if people are doing that.
Don't even say the amen.
Like so if Paul already has that in his mind in 1 Corinthians, they spoke in tongues. Paul and Barnabas did speak when it was legitimate during that time. They probably did speak in tongues to those people in the book of Acts, chapter 14. And there's probably an interpreter, or there's probably somebody from that place that was with them that would translate. But for sure, Paul makes it clear in the epistles that speaking gibberish is not allowed. So Paul would not go speaking gibberish to a place where he knew they didn't understand. Okay, so I don't understand why Steve Hayes will say this.
But also Paul, there was when there was the the split between him and Barnabas, Paul had taken Silas with him, knowing that he was Greek, I believe. He was Greek. Was he Jewish Greek? I don't know. But there was an advantage on why taking Silas with him, because I think he understood Greek as well. So he understood the importance of language. He understood the principle of having people understand what you are saying. How would they hear without a preacher? Of course, but obviously they need to understand the preacher too. That implies that they understand the same language.
So then the other question is well, how can they learn the language? How can you learn it? Well, for sure, you're not going to learn it in 1 week or in 1 year. That's for sure. So that's why I would think it's unwise for you to go there just in one, because it's going to take work. It's going to take a lot of work to do those things. Now it's illegal, so it's kind of hard for the Christians to do that, and that's what we kind of understand. Okay, so John Chau, he's probably the one that's gonna open up the doors. So we understand that God uses providence, and but it also one thing for sure that you have to understand is that any missionary like John Chau, his primary focus should not be to preach the gospel. That should be the essence of why he's doing it. But he first has to understand the language. So he should his energy should have been spent on understanding the language instead of preaching the gospel. I mean, the preaching the gospel, now that's the main reason, the essential part of it. But there's a step you got to take first, which is to know the language.
Yep.
So that should have been his primary focus. How? That's the hard part. So we don't. That's why, the Lord, you know what you're doing, and maybe this is going to help us understand that, open up those gateways.
But it is possible to learn it. It's possible, even if they may not have an idea of how in the world we're going to find out their language. I think it's possible.
This is what I was thinking how to do it. Just me thinking
about it. Let's hear.
Having a bunch of tape recorders, and just kind of sneaking in there and just dropping them out there, dropping them, and then going back and trying to get them back.
And you hear that?
Something like that. I mean, that's just me randomly
thinking
that could
in my
work, sleep
dude.
or
that
when
could
I'm
work,
in bed.
Hey, they have those really super hearing things where you point them and you're far away and you can still hear them speak. So you could be on the other, somewhere in the ocean, pointing that thing at them, and you can still hear them speak. But would that be invasion of privacy?
There was well, no, that's the whole thing.
I don't know.
That's the whole thing about preaching the gospel.
Not according to our government.
Oh yeah, but that's for the
government can look at anything in your.
That's funny.
But anyway, so my point is that the main reason or the primary goal at first is to learn the language, because it'll be pointless to go in there and now. Well, here's where also
the kicker to
here's another
why
thing,
he possibly went over there.
Here's another thing you probably got to consider as well. He does come from Oral Roberts School, seminary, and that's known to be a very hyper charismatic school. When I mean hyper, he's not. When I mean hyper, I mean is they're like the Word of Faith, prosperity gospel type of seminary. Oral Roberts was a prosperity gospel preacher and a big announcer of, or a big promoter of the Word of Faith. Dr. John MacArthur has this thing on his Grace to You, critiquing Oral Roberts, saying this, quote, Oral Roberts was certainly the 20th century leading advocate of the idea of Word of Faith. His prosperity doctrine laid the foundation for an enormous media-based religious system, and Oral Roberts was indeed its chief architect. Prosperity teaching was what Roberts himself wanted to be remembered for. So he was a big promoter of the whole prosperity gospel, Word of Faith movement. In a seminary, it's known for that. Kenneth Copeland came from that school.
Wow.
Kenneth Copeland, and I think even Joel Osteen come from that school. So we don't know, man. He might have been one of those Word of Faith, prosperity gospel students, which goes beyond the gospel.
If he wasn't like fully to the degree, it's probably he had some influences. Because it's gonna be taught in some way in those classes, you know. Yeah, I know of students or people who go to liberal Christian schools and stuff like that go there and they critique a lot of times, but they just get the degree or whatever and then they're gone. But I don't know the case with
Yeah, and like that's another thing too, is like when they try to compare with Jim Elliot. Well, we do know what Jim Elliot believed. He has writings. There's biographies like his wife Elizabeth Elliot. There's things that we do know what he believes, and it's sound stuff. With this guy, I think it's too early, because we don't know what he believes. Because if he does believe the Word of Faith, prosperity gospel junk, then I really don't want him to be preaching that stuff to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want the Sentinel people to be having another bad idea that's also as dangerous as, it's a better idea than what they have right now, because right now they're like crazy people, but still it's going to send them to hell.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know much about his own theology, about John Chau's theology. Imagine if somebody goes, I want you to imagine the story, right? Man, there's a missionary who's dedicated his life in Chiapas. He's been there 2 years, 3 years, and he's struggling. He gets persecuted. His wife is suffering, diseased. And he's really strong in evangelism. He's going out there every day, no matter what. Even when the Chiapas people, the Catholics, throw rocks upon him and everything, he still prays for them and loves them. What do you think about that evangelist?
Yeah, he's zealous.
He's zealous.
He's like, man, this guy.
But what if I tell you that this evangelist teaches that Christ is Angel Michael, and that he believes that Christ is not God?
Then he's not Christian.
Like that Christ is not, that is not by you're not saved by faith alone, but also by your works.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't
that's
want
not
that.
good.
Well, that's not good. We don't want that guy to be a missionary. Get out of there.
Yeah.
Send a good Christian missionary. So my point is, like, John Chau, we don't know yet his confession, because if he does come from that school, Oral Roberts, it already gives it like a little, like a black spot.
Mm-hmm.
Because Word of Faith is contrary to that of the gospel, the true gospel.
And that may have been some of the influences to him possibly going without having any backing as well. Because if you have like the Word of Faith and stuff like that, then you also have like other charismatic gifts that kind of come out of it, like prophecy and stuff like that. And so perhaps speaking in tongues, prophecy, getting direct revelation. God spoke to me and told me. They're getting direct revelation equals scripture.
Or if I speak it and my words speak what I believe, then it's going to become reality if I put faith. So if I speak to them that they're going to be converted, and my words will become reality and they'll be converted. And therefore I can go without any wisdom.
Language. Yeah. Therefore I don't even have to know the language.
Yeah, no training in language, because perhaps I may have the gift of tongues and I'd be able to get there and speak to them. So there's lots of like things that have to take into consideration, like perhaps how. And this is why, we've said it before, but and many people say your theology matters. I mean, it even affects your methodology, how you work out your faith, and stuff like that. So
yeah, so those are things to consider, because we do love the zeal and the missionary mindset to go there, but we still got to be careful with the theology that he's promoting. We don't want to just send anybody out there. Or we shouldn't be encouraging and applauding anyone who goes out there. You wouldn't do that with Jehovah's Witnesses or with Unitarian or with those who claim to be Christians but are not. You wouldn't do that with Benny Hinn. Oh, Benny Hinn's out there evangelizing to other people out there. So well, tell him to stop.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do. And don't,
I don't even think he'll go out there.
No, he wouldn't. He's too busy enjoying his luxuries.
I don't even think so. No.
But also, things that we can learn as a positive thing from John Chau is to be challenged. To be challenged to have that visionary mindset. To not be scared, to be zealous. Even in our own lives.
Yeah, that was I was thinking about that. I was like, man, this guy still went up there though, and even though I don't think it was like the best way he did it. I mean, he was there, man. Yeah. He was on there. He
was on there. And
he got there. He got to the island. I mean,
yeah, so
he got there.
So that's crazy because we can even get out there to our own school sometimes.
Yeah, right there outside.
Yeah.
So it's
it's a good example of how we should be so self-sacrificial to the point of death for our King. And so I mean we can take really good things from that. To be to the point of giving up our lives for the gospel.
Yeah, give up your lives for the gospel, for the spreading of the kingdom. So those are things that we can all be challenged by. Then not to even be afraid, because it seemed like he wasn't even afraid. He wasn't afraid of the laws by the nations, and he wasn't afraid of being killed by those people.
Yeah.
So how that applies to us is like if we're at school, here in our comfortable homes, going in schools, we don't want to say anything because we might get in trouble by the deans. Well, he didn't care getting in trouble by the government.
Yeah. I mean, I think he did mention it, I think a little bit in his letter that he was, he felt a little afraid, but it didn't stop him from going, and expressing his feelings and his thoughts before. It was a 16-page letter. So when he first went, they were throwing arrows at him or, spears or whatever. It hit his Bible.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And then so eventually he came back to, I guess, wherever he was staying at, wrote a 16-page, letter, expressing how he felt and things like that, and preparations, I guess, in going. And then he went the next day, and that's when, he died. So
yeah. So like some people even here in America don't even want to say that transgenderism is a sin or that homosexuality is a sin because they might take away your tax deductions, or you're gonna get
different arrows.
A C on your school. If you're in school, they might kick you out of school, and we're afraid by preaching things that are just biblical in our country. And his boldness, can inspire us to be like, hey man, it's like, so what?
That's true.
So what? We can still go out there and preach. So that is inspiring.
Fear the one who destroys body and soul.
Yeah. But anyways, that's probably that's basically our insights on that thingy. And hopefully people listening to this on Facebook or YouTube, all our friends that are in different countries, because we've been getting people from different countries.
Oh, that's right.
So hopefully this episode is encouraging to you guys. It's just giving you a little insights of some little things that's happening here in America, the little debates.
Yeah.
But any last things you want to say?
No, you would use biblical wisdom. Yeah.
Think through what you're doing.
And learn from all aspects. God uses all things. We were talking about, God's decree yesterday and from the confession, and he uses it all for his ultimate glory.
For his glory, yeah.
So all these ripples and his providence, it's for our good and for his glory.
Yeah, well, all right, guys. Well, until next time, don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel. Go to our Facebook page, Jonathan Moreno, Joseph Vasquez, Emmanuel.
Joseph
Vasquez,
and Emmanuel Sosa. Nice play. Emmanuel Vasquez, or even these guys over there. You know, they have Facebook pages too. They can go become their friends.
Josue.
I need to put more pictures up. I don't have any like.
Dude,
type
you're
of
like
picture.
so inactive.
Yeah,
you're you just like non-existent. You might as well just erase your Facebook.
I need to start putting up some more pictures because people are gonna be like, well, all you have is like your wedding pictures and when you went to the winery.
Your wedding
pictures.
I mean, my brother's
Whoa.
wedding.
Yeah, you married when you know about this.
My
What's
brother's
going on here?
Dude,
My brother's wedding
Watchale, todos.
Cuidado.
Cuidado.
Wow.
Man, so do you have any kids that we don't know about?
I know,
No,
for real, dude.
no.
Like a house somewhere over there, you know.
No, I do not have a house.
Is that why you don't want to stay here anymore? Because you go to your house?
Oh,
That's
nighttime,
probably why, dude. That makes sense now.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But anyways, next episode, dude, we should probably have the married man.
Oh
join
yeah.
us.
How about that?
Talking about marriage.
Talking about marriage.
Yeah, man,
next
for real,
episode.
I think it
dude.
might be beneficial because
Yeah.
you know I'll be getting to Ephesians 5 soon. So it'd be good to
How about that?
have some
So
little tips.
our next episode, you guys are gonna be right here. You know,
Wow.
que
So those of
sentaditos.
you who want some tips on marriage, maybe just sharing their experiences,
Yeah.
and some of the perhaps difficulties, how they persevere through it, and how they have a self-sacrificial attitude 100%.
Yeah,
of the
how they
time.
love their
Nice.
wives like Christ loved the church.
Yes, amen, hallelujah, every single time.
Yeah.
So there we go, guys. So next episode.
themselves
They are
up for her.
they are the standard. Just kidding. Just kidding.
No, it would be good because they're young and they're newlyweds. Well, one is a newlywed. This guy's a year or so
The
and
veteran
more.
already.
I think they got married in
You
January.
got 2 years. 2 years already,
Oh, yeah,
Jose?
2 years.
2 years?
And Jonathan, how much you got? You got like
months.
4 months.
6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
Wow.
Wow.
You better be right, David, because if Nicole listens to this, it's not 6 months.
I know, dude, for real.
The pega.
They're big.
You better
All right, guys,
memorize
let's-
the day now.
That's good. And the next time we should probably have the girls.
Oh, maybe they're wives.
The wives?
Their wives, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
See if it's true what they're saying. Because they might be lying to us. Oh, no, I love my wife and always patient
I
with her. And then
remember
Vanessa's
one
like,
time.
no, me maltrata. He treats me bad. No. And we're going to start like a little,
wow.
little counseling section here. You know? Now, anyways,
funny.
guys. Till next time, peace.
See ya.